Good evening. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Jill. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Good. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. What a pretty blouse you have on.
Oh, thank you.
It's so pretty. Love
Thank
that.
you.
I love it's orange, right? Orange flowers?
It's got they're like a pinkish orange. Yeah, they've got like pink and orange in them. But
Very
it's
like a
like
shawl.
a shawl type or
Mm,
I forget what like a kimono
yeah,
shawl, I guess they call it or something.
I love that. That's
Thank
very
you.
pretty. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Here we go. Ready? Away again off. Home big give. Went old number. Airline went. Sound below saw. Something thought both. Going want school. Important until form. Took some times for. Head above kind. Father let night. Light parts country. Days ever paper. Hard near sentence better best across, following picture being, began almost live, food keep children, few those always, own under read, great tell men, say small every, last never us, looked show large, feet land slide, page got earth, study second eyes, during today others, however sure means, soon time story, need far hand, high year mother, boys sense white, new its try, without boy once, animals life enough, often together asked, house don't world, left and along, while might next, name should Mr. Found still between. I like that one because it's like in sets of threes. All right, now here are some common phrases. What you were, what you will, what you would, when are, when can, when could, when had, when have, when he believed, when he believes, when he can, when he cannot, when he could, when he feels, when he felt, when he had, when he is, when he recalled, when he recalls, when he recollected, when he recollects, when he remembered, when he remembers, when he says, when he shall, when he should, when he understands, when he wanted, when he wants, when he was, when he will, when I believe, when I believed, when I can, when I cannot, when I could, when I feel, when I felt, when I had, when I have been, when I have had, when I know, when I recollect, when I recollected, when I remember, when I remembered, when I shall, when I should, when I understand. All right. Names and addresses. All right. Let me just date this. All right, here we go. Terry R. Irby, IRBY, Juliet Junior College, 1216 Humboldt Avenue, Juliet, Illinois, 60436. Lori G. Weitzel, WHITESELL, Route 15, Box 72, Richfield, Idaho, 83349. Ms. Tina L. Mullet, MULLETT, 10900 River Road, Chesterfield, Virginia, 23832. Northeastern Junior College, Learning Resource Center, Sterling, Colorado, 80751. Ms. Christine A. Komar, KOMAR, Shorewood High School, 17300 Fremont Avenue North, Seattle, Washington, 98133. Trina M. Graves, GRAVES, 1393 South Oveo Road, Mason, Michigan, 48954. Karen R. Bertling, BERTLING, 5946 Augustine Avenue, Elk Ridge, Maryland, 21227. Mr. Douglas A. Reed, REED, 5661 Derby Court, number 11, Alexandria, Virginia, 22310. Elizabeth C. Leyland, Leyland, Montcalm Secondary School, 1350 Highbury Avenue, London, Ontario, N5Y 1B5. Right. Now, these are going to be different briefs and phrases, but I'm not going to give them to you because I figure you already know what you use and by the time you're in this speed, so you can either write it out or use a brief, okay? Here we go. Accident, account, actually, admissibility, admissible, aggravated robbery, agreement, alcohol, allegation, allege, applicable, argument, assault and battery, at that time, at the time, at this time, attorney, background, beyond a reasonable doubt, bias or prejudice, burden, call your attention, chosen, circumstance, circumstantial, circumstantial evidence, closing argument, closing arguments, commit, common sense, conduct, confidential, connection, consistency or inconsistency, convict, corporation, courtroom, credibility, credibility of the witness, credible, credible evidence, criminal case, dangerous weapon, deadly weapon, decision, defendant, degree, deliberate, deliberation. And if you have any questions about any of those, just let me know and I'll let you know what it is. Okay. All right. Moving on to our next drill. This is going to be names with ages. Okay. I'm going to spell the last name. Here we go. Doug Naylor, Naylor, 62. Alan Wren, Wren, 66. Emmeline Pankhurst, Pankhurst, 10. Andrew Hall, Hall, 50. Allie Rourke, Rourke, 6. Fee Plumley, Plumley, 98. Gary Mounfield, Mounfield, 56. Andy Williams, Williams, 13. George Garrett, Garrett, 74. Anthony Burgess, Burgess, 27. Harold Lever, Lever, 87. Arthur Delaney, Delaney, 91. Holiday Granger, Grainger, 12. Amy Harden, Harden, 32. Howard Jacobson, Jacobson, 101. Benjamin Haywood, Heywood, 45. Ian Brown, Brown, 16. Bernard Manning, Manning, 86. Ivan Curtis, Curtis, 23. Brady Sumner, Sumner, 24. Ryan McShane, Mcshane, 35. Brian Kidd, Kidd, 12. J.J. Thompson, Thomson, 47. Caroline Ahern, Aherne, 37. Jez Williams, Williams, 69. Chris Addison, Addison, 28. Jimmy Goodwin, Goodwin, 27. Danielle Adamson, Adamson, 42. John Cassidy, Cassidy, 53. Damian Molt, Moult, 59. James Polany, Polany, or let me say that again, Polany, 12. Danny Weber, Webber, 21. Jude Thaw, Thaw, 92. Kathy Welbeck, Welbeck, 79. Johnny Marr, Marr, 53. Darren Campbell, Campbell, 49. Judy Finnegan, Finnigan, 75. David George, George, 29. Carl Pinklington, Pilkington, 18. Davy Jones, Jones, 50. Lee Dixon, Dixon, 100. DJ Semtex, Semtex, 15. Lainey Rigby, Rigby, 7. And Don Arden, Arden, 85. All right, now I've got some consonant compounds that emphasize final BL, final FBS, final JD. Okay, here we go. Is Rod capable and able to win the race? The twins are double trouble. The cable belongs to Mr. Grable. Is the statement both audible and plausible? The table is near the stable. The label had a bubble in it. The caves were full of leaves. Sam lives near the beehives. The wives were the chefs. The knives were used to cut the loaves of bread. Brian always dives into the waves. Sid drives over the grooves in the road. Were you engaged when you were paged by Ian? The damaged wig was charged to Jim. The caged bird staged a show. John binged and gorged himself and then purged. The enlarged photo was changed to a poster. We rearranged the schedule. All right. How are we doing on time? Good. All right, so now I'm going to give you, these are going to be IPA medical group listings and their numbers, okay? So you're using your RBGS. Here we go. Ready? IV, Inland Valley IPA, 81L. HVV, Heritage Victor Valley, T4H. HVMGE, Horizon Valley Medical Group, C1T. FMG, Phoenix Medical Group, 080. DOH, Desert Oasis Healthcare, S3H. CVP, Coachella Valley Physicians, S50. CMG, Chafee Medical Group, M7U. AP, Allied Pacific IPA, F1P. ACMG, Alpha Care Medical Group, 00A. ADP, Alliance Desert Physicians, TCU. BMG, Beaver Medical Group, A2U. CHVMG, CPN, Horizon Valley Medical Group, N1Y. Oh, there's a few more. DHPN, Dignity Health Physician Network, Inland Empire, R1W. DHMG, Dignity Health Medical Group, Inland Empire, G0B. IEHP Direct, Inland Empire Health Plan Direct, J3J. IFMG, Inland Faculty Medical Group, P0F. PCHV, Prime Care of Hemet Valley, R1S. PCIV, Prime Care of Inland Valley, 06S. LSMA, LaSalle Medical Associates, H4E. All right, now I've got some I've got some email addresses. So just a little reminder that www.iswat.com is Daum, D-A-U-M. .net is D-W-E-T, Dwet. .gov is D-W-O-F, Dwov. .org is D-W-O-R-G, Dworg. @ is A-T with our asterisks. / is F-A-S-H. And then if there's a dot in the middle, you can just write that as D-O-T with the flag. Okay. All right. So here are some popular websites. Here we go. www.dropbox.com, www.livingsocial.com, www.outbrain.com, www.pixnet.net, www.fatwallet.com, www.alipay.com, www.microsoftonline.com, www.coupons.net, www.booking.com, www.soso.com, www.slickdeals.com, www.nicovideo.jp.net, www.woot.com, www.bongacams.com, www.bibly.com, www.craigslist.org, www.ebay.com, www.zoolily.com, www.retailmenot.com, www.yahoogames.com, www.shopathome.net, www.office.com, and www.jdate.com. Those were probably, I would imagine those were on the tricky side. Okay, now our fun drill. I'm going to give you Jelly Belly's official 50 flavors. Here we go. Margarita, A&W cream soda, mixed berry smoothie, A&W root beer, orange sherbet, berry blue, peach, blueberry, pina colada, bubblegum, buttered popcorn, plum, cantaloupe, pomegranate, cappuccino, raspberry, red apple, caramel corn, chili mango, sizzling cinnamon, chocolate pudding, cantaloupe, sour cherry, cinnamon, strawberry cheesecake, coconut, strawberry daiquiri, cotton candy, strawberry jam, crushed pineapple, sun-kissed lemon, Dr. Pepper, sun-kissed lime, French vanilla, sun-kissed orange, green apple, sun-kissed pink grapefruit, island punch, sun-kissed tangerine, juicy pear, toasted marshmallow, kiwi, top banana, lemon drop, tutti frutti, lemon lime, berry cherry, licorice, watermelon, mango, wild blackberry. All right. Makes me want to eat some Jelly Bellies. Okay. Now I'm going to give you a drill here that it focuses on I don't remember, I don't know, I didn't know, I can't remember, I don't recall, I can't recall, I don't recollect, I can't recollect, I don't go, I didn't go, I can't go. All of those, okay? Here we go. I don't have enough time. I don't find you amusing. I don't understand you. I don't feel like doing that. I don't get to play soccer. I don't agree with you. I don't remember when the accident happened. I don't remember saying anything to him. I don't remember hitting the ball. I don't remember who my insurance carrier was. I don't remember the child's name. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if she called. I don't know who made the report. I don't know if that is accurate. I don't know who he is. I didn't hear what was said. I didn't file a report. I didn't make the call. I didn't blame anyone. I didn't like that flavor. I didn't find anything exciting. I didn't know it was you. I didn't know you were here. I didn't know you were upset. I didn't know my dog bit you. I didn't know the trial was today. I can't find the group. I can't figure out the problem. I can't solve the case. I can't practice with the team. I can't qualify for the loan. I can't read the sign. I can't remember what was said. I can't remember why we went. I can't remember if I ever met the group. I can't remember who punched who. I can't remember why the call was made. I don't understand the question. I didn't understand the question. I can't understand the question. I don't see the point. I didn't see the point. I can't see the point. I don't say it correctly. I didn't say it correctly. I can't say it correctly. I don't recall what was said. I don't recall who wrote the note. I don't recall who taught the lesson. I don't recall the date of the accident. I can't recall what was said. I can't recall who wrote the note. I can't recall who taught the lesson. I can't recall the date of the accident. I don't recollect what was said. I don't recollect who wrote the note. I don't recollect who taught the lesson. I don't recollect the date of the accident. I can't recollect what was said. I can't recollect who wrote the note. I can't recollect who taught the lesson. I can't recollect the date of the accident. I don't go to other countries. I didn't go to other countries. I can't go to other countries. All right, so we'll go ahead and stop there with our drills. I have a fun fact that I'm going to read to you for our literary, just to kind of get us going, okay? This is called A Song is Born. Here we go. In 1987, Steven Tyler and the rest of Aerosmith were taking a break from a recording section. They were partying in a New York nightclub and spotted a lady at the end of the bar with an enormous head of blonde hair. When the lady turned around, it was Vince Neil, the lead singer of Motley Crue. They went back to the studio and finished a song called Cruisin' with My Lady with the new lyrics and a title change of Dude Looks Like a Lady. Pretty interesting. All right. Now, do a little bit more literary. I'm going to read this at 200, okay? Give you a little push. Okay. This is congressional record. Handicapped is the subject. All right, here we go. And you're going to hear distinguished, colleagues, initiatives, decade, accessibility, capabilities, obstacles, heighten, president, ambitious, disabled, legislative, resolution, handicapped, mainstream, barriers, integration, and keener. Okay, here we go. This will be at 200. Mr. President, I am submitting a resolution with several of my distinguished colleagues that will hopefully serve to reinforce an awareness of the needs of American citizens who are handicapped. I would like to urge both houses of Congress to concentrate on legislative initiatives that will further assist all disabled Americans in their movement to join the mainstream of society. The time has come to begin to recognize the potential contributions that the 38 million handicapped Americans can make. For too long, we have emphasized the limitations of disabled individuals rather than giving them a chance to demonstrate their capabilities. During the past decade, we have made great strides in eliminating the barriers which have prevented the handicapped from circulating freely in our society. Ambitious programs which allow the disabled person greater accessibility to public and private buildings and transportation systems have been introduced. Along with the elimination of physical barriers industry must learn to recognize the abilities of the handicapped. The intent of the resolution is to heighten public awareness of the problems faced by this country's handicapped people. As members of the Congress, we can encourage the integration of the handicapped into the mainstream of society by introducing legislative initiatives that will create employment opportunities for the disabled American. Mr. President, we are at a key point in time. We need to continue to foster a true awareness and a keener understanding of the obstacles that exist in community life for the handicapped individual. I ask for unanimous consent to have this resolution considered to establish a committee to study the problems of the handicapped and their integration into the industrial workforce. Let's make it our resolution to continue to open the doors for all handicapped Americans. All right. Moving into jury charge. I have some jury instructions for you. All right, so you're going to hear Reynolds, segment, rational, equally, academic, circumstantial, principally, versus, clarification, interchangeable, unreasonable, interpretation, shed, strength, and CalJIC. That's just California jury instructions. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start this at 200 and I'm going to work my way to 225, okay? All right, here we go. All parties are present, both trial counsel are present, the trial jury is present. Mr. Reynolds, the clerk, has the 3 separate questions that were submitted. I might indicate for the jury's information that the CalJIC numbers are noted to the left at the top. Now, in connection with the question clarification of instructions, in drawing conclusions from circumstantial evidence, the instructions talk of reasonable interpretations. The question is reasonable by whose standards? This refers to CalJIC 3.92 for your information. In response to your first question, reasonable by whose standards, the court's answer is as follows. Reasonableness is judged by the jury's standard and not reasonable as judged by any particular segment of society. My comments at the conclusion of answering some of the following questions may shed some light on what I have just said. I also should add that this is to be considered by the jury as an academic discussion regarding these words and their meaning as used in the instructions. The next series of questions refers principally to CalJIC 3.92 and may have application to 3.93, but I took your question to be applied principally to CalJIC 3.92. The statement is if 2 issues are reasonable and rational, but one is more reasonable or rational. The question is, are we to treat them as equally reasonable and rational? The words reasonable and rational are interchangeable as used in this instruction. The instruction turns on reasonable interpretation versus rational interpretation, or reasonable interpretation versus unreasonable interpretation. So the answer to your first question, are we to treat them as equally reasonable, rational? I will indicate as follows. Factually reasonable interpretations may not be of equal strength, but are equal in the eyes of the law and are so treated in the instruction. This is because the law does not attempt to measure the strength or reasonable interpretations. So the answer to your first question is yes. The second question, continuing on, or can we judge that the more reasonable one is reasonable and the less reasonable one is unreasonable? The answer to that question is no. These questions are answered because the question refers to 2 reasonable, rational interpretations. That is why I attempted to point out the difference in the issues that are presented. The next question submitted appears to apply principally to CalJIC 3.93. All right. How are we doing on time? Good. Perfect. I'm going to give you one more. This is closing arguments. Actually, it might be opening statements. Okay, here we go. Again, I'm going to start at 200, work my way to 225. To intentionally aid and abet the crime of mutilating a corpse, the defendant must know that another person is committing or intends to commit the crime of mutilating a corpse and have the purpose to assist the commission of that crime. Before you may find the defendant guilty of mutilating a corpse as a party to the crime, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant directly committed the crime of mutilating a corpse or intentionally aided and abetted the commission of that crime. All 12 jurors do not have to agree whether the defendant directly committed the crime of first degree, mutilating a corpse, or aided and abetted the commission of the crime. However, each juror must be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant was concerned in the commission of the crime in one of those ways. Mutilating a corpse, as defined in section 940.11 of the Criminal Code of Wisconsin, is violated by one who mutilates a corpse with intent to conceal a crime or avoid apprehension, prosecution, or conviction for a crime. Before you may find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the following two elements were present. Number one, Brian Dorsey mutilated the corpse of Tracy Hall or aided and abetted another in mutilating the corpse of Tracy Hall. Then number two, in mutilating the corpse of Tracy Hall or in aiding or abetting another in mutilating her corpse, Brian Hall acted with the intent to conceal the crime. This requires that the defendant acted with the purpose to conceal a crime. You cannot look into a person's mind to find out about intent. Intent must be found, if found at all, from the defendant's actions, words, and statements, if any, and from all of the facts and circumstances in the case bearing upon intent. If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt at the conclusion of the trial that Brian Dorsey directly committed both elements of this offense, or that Brian Dorsey directly aided and abetted another in the commission of the crime, you should find that the defendant is guilty. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty. Count 3 charges the defendant with first-degree sexual assault by use or threat of a dangerous weapon, also as a party to a crime. Section 939.05 of the Criminal Code of Wisconsin provides that whoever is concerned in that commission of a crime is a party to that crime and may be convicted of that crime, although the person did not directly commit it. The state contends that the defendant was concerned in the commission of the crime of first-degree sexual assault by either directly committing it or by intentionally aiding and abetting the person who directly committed it. The person intentionally aids and abets the commission of a crime, then that person is guilty of a crime as well as the person who directly committed it. Person intentionally aids and abets the commission of a crime when acting with knowledge and belief that another person is committing or intends to commit a crime. He knowingly either assists the person who commits the crime or is readily and willing to assist, and the person who commits the crime knows of the willingness to assist. To intentionally aid and abet the crime of first-degree sexual assault, the defendant must know that another person is committing or intends to commit the crime of first-degree sexual assault and have the purpose to assist the commission of that crime. Before you may find the defendant guilty of first-degree sexual assault as a party to a crime, the state must prove by the evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant directly committed the crime of first-degree sexual assault or intentionally aided and abetted the commission of that crime. All 12 jurors do not have to agree whether the defendant directly committed the crime of first-degree sexual assault or aided and abetted the commission of that crime. However, each juror must be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant was concerned in the commission of the crime in one of those ways. First-degree sexual assault, as defined in section 940.225 of the Criminal Code of Wisconsin, is committed by one who has sexual intercourse with another person without the consent and by use or threat of a dangerous weapon. Before you find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the number or the following 3 elements were present. Number 1, the defendant had sexual intercourse with Tracy Hall. Number 2, Tracy Hall did not consent to the sexual intercourse. Number 3, the defendant had sexual intercourse with Tracy Hall by use or threat of a dangerous weapon. This requires that the defendant actually used or threatened to use the dangerous weapon to compel Tracy Hall to submit to sexual intercourse. If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that all 3 elements of first-degree sexual assault have been proven, you should find the defendant guilty. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty. In reaching your verdict, examine the evidence with care and caution. Act with judgment, reason, and prudence. Defendants are not required to prove their innocence. The law presumes every person charged with the commission of an offense to be innocent. This presumption requires a finding of not guilty unless in your deliberations you find it is overcome by the evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty. The burden of establishing every fact necessary to constitute guilt is upon the state. Before you can return a verdict of guilty, the evidence must satisfy you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty. If you can reconcile the evidence upon any reasonable hypothesis consistent with the defendant's innocence, you should do so and return a verdict of not guilty. The term reasonable doubt means a doubt based upon the reason and common sense. It is a doubt for which a person can be given, for which a reason can be given, arising from a fair and rational consideration of the evidence or lack of evidence. It means such a doubt as would cause a person of ordinary prudence to pause or hesitate when called upon to act in the most important affairs of life. A reasonable doubt is not a doubt which is based on mere guesswork or speculation. A doubt which arises merely from sympathy or from fear to return a verdict of guilty is not a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is not a doubt such as may be used to escape the responsibility of a decision. While it is your duty to give the defendant the benefit of every reasonable doubt, you are not to search for the doubt. You are to search for the truth. The lawyers will show and will now make opening statements. The purpose of an opening statement is to give the lawyers an opportunity to tell you what they expect the evidence will show so that you can better understand the evidence as it is introduced during the trial. I must caution you, however, that the opening statements are not evidence. Mr. Kratz, Juror Covington, were you able to hear me when I gave these instructions? All right. Moving into Q&A. I'm going to start at 180. Okay, that was some great long dictation there. I'll start at 180, but I'm going to work my way right to 200, okay? We won't spend long in 200 or in 180. And then from then on, then I'm going to hit 225, and then we'll just do the rest in 225, okay? So this one, the highest we'll go on this one is 200. It's not very long. Here we go. Ms. Chatworth, in the course of your employment as the manager of the clothing department at the Macy's store, do you approve the charging of the credit cards at the store? I approve the cards that are brought to my attention by the cashiers that are either lacking in identification or if they have some questions about them at all, and then they can call me for an approval. Okay, I am handing you now what has been marked People's number 3 for identification, and I ask you to examine this particular card. Do you recognize anything about this particular card? Yes, originally I didn't take the card. My assistant took it. She called me up on the inner store line for approval. Your Honor, I am going to object to anything the assistant manager said. All right, non-responsive. Okay, did you have occasion to see the card in your store? Yes, I did see the card. What were the circumstances under which you saw the card? I was called to the checkout station number 49 for approval of the card, and I did approve it with 2 identifications. The approvals are on the paperwork in the computer. Here they are, a Wisconsin driver's license and a signature. And are your initials indicated anywhere on there? Yes, on the front in the right-hand corner. Did you see who the person was who was presenting the card for purchasing? Yes, I did. Who was that? The gentleman is sitting at the table at the end, the third one from the end of the table. For the record, the defendant, Peter Robinson, has been identified. Are we ready for cross-examination? Not quite. Was this card presented for merchandise that was obtained from your store? Yes, it was presented for merchandise. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor. Thank you. Is there any cross? Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Now, what is the date of that particular card, ma'am? Let me see. The card is dated August 15, 2013. Had you ever seen my client, Peter Robinson, prior to August 15, 2013? No, I had never seen him. Have you ever seen him since? Yes. Mr. Robinson was in the store on one occasion shopping. So you have seen him twice prior to coming to court? That's correct. Was Mr. Robinson pointed out to you by the detectives as being the defendant in this case when you came to court? Your Honor, I am going to object to that question. There has been no foundation laid for this. Overruled. You may answer the question. But you recognized him, having seen him only on 2 occasions? That is true. What was the total length of time that you had to observe my client at the time when you approved that particular transaction? Let's see, I was called approximately 3 minutes. Did you stand and talk with him for 3 minutes? I asked him questions about his identification. I looked at his identification. Then I looked at him and verified the identification. And then we accepted the card. I see. And I initialed it on the computer, the printout. What was the name of the cashier who called you? Sabrina Parkins. Ms. Chatsworth, how long have you worked at the Macy's store? For over 5 years. Where is the Macy's located? In what city? 55 Plaza Park in Madison. Now, Ms. Chatworth, in the course of business, how many purchases are paid with or by a card? How many? Yes, how many? 25%, 50%, 75%? At least half of the purchases. Okay, are all of these cards approved by you? No, they are not. I am now handing you what has been marked as defense number 4 for identification, and I will ask you to examine that particular card. Okay, have you ever seen this card before? Yes, I have. What were the circumstances under which you saw this card? Well, I accepted the card from the defendant. Was that rendered in payment of some purchases to be made at your store? Yes, it was. Okay, what was the date the card was accepted on? August 16, 2013. And do you know who it was that presented that card to you? Yes, I do. Who was that? The defendant, that gentleman right there. The record should reflect that the witness has again indicated the defendant. Your Honor, can I ask one further question? Sure, all right, go ahead. At the time the second card was presented as payment for a purchase, was there any identification that you examined at the time that you took this card? Yes, there was. I took a Wisconsin driver's license and a signature. I have no further questions. Thank you very much. All right. This subject here is an auto accident, and I'm going to read this at 2:25. Okay. This is plaintiff questioning. Okay. All right. 2:25. Here we go. The court does come in as well as the defense. Okay. There we go. Officer Knight, you were not in Rochester County at the time of the accident? No, I wasn't. And you had no information of it until sometime after 10 o'clock in the evening of February 19th? That's right, yes, sir. What was the first connection that you had with the investigation into this matter? When Sheriff John Martin called me about 10:15. Mr. Martin called you at your home? At my home. And then in response to his call, you went to meet him? I met him at the Leeds mortuary. And you met him at the Leeds mortuary? Yes. And was there anyone with him there at that time? I don't recall. I don't believe so in my remembrance. How long were you at the mortuary? Oh, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. It may have been longer than that. When we left the mortuary, we got out there to the scene of the accident about 11:15. Did you proceed directly from the mortuary to the scene of the accident? I believe we did. As near as I can recall, we did. Did you go in his car? I think we went in the patrol car, but the two of you were together in the patrol car? I believe we were. In any event, the two of you reached the scene of the accident together? Yes. And on what highway did the accident occur? Highway 54. Is that one of the main arterial highways? Yes. Is that a curvy and steep highway? Yes, it is a steep highway. Okay, is it finished with a guardrail? Yes, there is a guardrail. Is the guardrail, is it continuous? Yes, it is continuous, no breaks. What kind of a night was it? Do you recall? As I recall, it was clear but cold. Clear but cold? Very cold. I believe it was below 0. You say you couldn't see much at this time of the accident? Not much physical evidence. It was dark, of course? Yes, it was. There was no moon? No moon. And because it was dark and you couldn't see any physical evidence, you didn't assume to go ahead that night and take any measurements? No, I figured it would be better to do it in the daytime, safer. By the way, when you were at the mortuary, did you look at the body of Mr. Longerman? I did. Was it clothed? Yes, it was. And do you recall the color of its clothes? I believe they were dark. Dark? Dark clothing. But when you saw the body, it was fully clothed. Pants, coats, shoes. Yes, the clothing was dark. Yes. You noted that at that time? I did notice that at that time. Did you notice whether or not that at the time you saw the body, he was in a coat of some kind? That is a wool coat or a jacket? I don't recall, but what clothing I did see, it was all dark clothing. And I recall it was dark clothing, nothing that would reflect the light. There was no clothing that would reflect the light? No. Did you talk with anyone at the site of the accident? Nobody else but Officer Martin. Did you that night while you were at the site of the accident see any blood spots? I did that night, and there were some blood spots, some blood, yes. Okay, could you see it clearly? Well, yes, it showed up clearly. You had your car lights on, of course? Yes, but that was it. Okay, you were working with a flashlight too? Yes, we had lights and a flashlight. Was there traffic passing? It wasn't heavy, but there was traffic moving? There was traffic moving, yes. Even while you and the sheriff were there at that hour? That's right. From both directions, going both ways. Mr. Knight, at what time did you return to the site of the accident in the morning? It was about 10 o'clock in the morning. Did you that next morning at 10 o'clock thereafter take some measurements of the road? I did that, yes. And I understood you to say that you found the highway surface to be 21 feet in width? About 21 feet, yes, that is right. And a broken center line dividing it? Yes. An ordinary paint line? Yes, and a guardrail. Do you recall the color of that paint line? It was white, and that would make approximately 10.5 feet each side of the paint line? Yes, if the center line was exactly in the middle. Sometimes it varies. And there was traffic passing back and forth that morning, I assume? Yes, there was. You say that there had been a snowplow, however, during that season, it being the month of February, which made for a space between the snow banks of approximately 35 feet, about, yes. And you call those banks berms? I don't know for sure, but they do refer to it as a furrow of oil as a berm, and I assume a snowbank would be a berm too. Okay, well, that would make then for a distance of approximately 17.5 feet from the center marker to the extreme edge of the plowed out area of the highway, that is to the snowbank. It may vary. It may be plowed out more on one side than another. Okay, now when you talked about the blood spots having been witnessed that night, what do you mean? A pool of blood, frozen pool, or what? I don't know whether it was a blood spot, but apparently it was blood. It was frozen red or frozen a light red. I believe when blood freezes, it freezes a light colored red. And what was its size or area? Oh, it was a spot about 10 inches around. In diameter or circumference? Yes, about. And did there appear to be some connection between the spot that you have identified and some other blood mark or moisture marks on the road? Yes, there was a continuous smear from that part. I assume it was the trail of Mr. Longerman's body. Did that appear to have a slide? Did that appear to have slid along? Yes, there was a continuous mark, and it apparently had slid. And that would account for the connection between the two places? Yes. Did you find any hat or cap in the area? I don't know if we did or not. I can't remember. You wouldn't say that you did or that you didn't? I wouldn't say that I did or didn't. Okay, at the present time, you have no recollection? I can't recall that we did or didn't. Did you find any bottles or glass? Any what? Any bottles or glass. Was there on the highway any broken bottles or any broken glass? I don't recall finding any, no. Did you find in the area any contents that might have been in the pocket of the clothing or anything of that kind, such as a watch, change, money, phone, cigarettes, or anything of that kind? I don't recall that I did, no. How long did you stay at the scene of the accident after your arrival there, late on the night of February 19th? Possibly an hour. Possibly an hour? I think we waited a little while longer. Yes, we brought Mr. Longerman to the station. All right. So I've got another transcript. We're doing good on time. That's good. All right. And again, I'm going to read it 225. Okay. It's going to be plaintiff. It's court case. Do you see Jeannie Ramirez in court today? Yes. Please identify her for the record. She's to my left on the right-hand side of the counsel table. She's wearing an orange jumpsuit with an ID card, and she has long curly hair. Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Jeannie Ramirez? It will, yes. Nothing further. I'd like to renew my objection to strike any reference that the cell phone belonged to Mr. Aztec. The foundation laid was that Detective Zimmer told Shell that it's his phone. That's not enough. If Detective Zimmer said, I took this from Mr. Aztec's pocket, that I would argue that would be sufficient foundation. But just saying, here, Sergeant, that is Aztec's phone, I don't think that's sufficient without knowing how he knew it was his phone. I don't think it matters. I'm going to overrule your objection. Okay, Your Honor. Any questions? You indicated that you were aware of 2 search warrants in this case. Yes. And you are aware that one of the search warrants was of where my client, Ms. Ramirez, lives. I don't know for sure if that's where she lived. I'm aware that there was a search warrant served on cattle in Escondido, and it was my understanding that she was related to that house. I don't know if she lived there or if it was family members, that there was a belief that I didn't write the search warrant. I didn't participate in the search warrant, but I'm aware of it. Okay, do you know whether or not they found any of these items that were allegedly stolen in this case from Mr. Gomez in that house that you believe to be related to Ms. Ramirez? I'm not aware of what items were found at any location or where. As of that date, correct? At that time, yes. And subsequent to that, did you become aware whether or not any items that were related to this incident were found in that house related to Ms. Ramirez? No, I did not become aware. Okay, I have no further questions, Your Honor. Redirect? Nothing. Mr. Mendez? No, Your Honor, nothing further. Okay, counsel, may this witness be excused? Yes. Yes, Your Honor. All right, thank you. Sergeant Shell, you can be excused. That means you can go or stay, whichever you choose to do. Call your next witness. Your Honor, the people would call Detective Smoot. Do you solemnly state that the evidence you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you. You may be seated. Please state your name and spell it for the record. My name is James Smoot, James Smoot. Good afternoon, Detective Smoot. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Your witness, Ms. Brunn. Thank you very much, Your Honor. Detective Smoot, what is your occupation? I'm currently assigned as a detective with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department Specialized Enforcement Detail Gang Team. How long have you been employed as a sworn law enforcement officer? 17 years. Prior to your current assignment, what was your assignment? I was a deputy sheriff at the Escondido City Station, acting as in the Detective Bureau on December 1st of 2011. Were you assigned to follow up on the robbery that occurred in the city of Escondido on Connor Road? Yes, I was. As part of that follow-up, did you make contact with Juan Gomez at his residence on Connor Road? Yes, I did. Or in addition to making contact with Juan Gomez, did you observe any items in the residence? Can you clarify the items? There were all kinds of stuff in the residence. Did Mr. Gomez tell you about some of the items that were in his residence as a result of the robbery that had previously occurred? Yes. What did he tell you? Well, there were zip ties that were left behind from the robbery, as well as a broom handle that he believed was used to strike him with. Did Mr. Gomez point those items out to you? Yes, he did. And can you please describe what you saw? I saw some white, smaller zip ties that can be zip tied together. Appeared that they had been pulled apart, laying on the ground next to a couch. And there was a wooden broom handle approximately 4 feet long leaning up against a wall. What did you do with those items? I called out the sheriff's service specialist and had them collected as evidence and swapped for DNA. Based on the information you received in this case, do you know when this incident occurred? From reading the original report by the original reporting deputy, it occurred on November 29, and your contact was on December 1st. That is correct. During your contact with Juan Gomez, did you show him any photo lineup of male individuals that contained a picture of Damian Aztec? Yes, I did. Do you see Mr. Aztec in court today? Yes, ma'am, I do. Could you please identify him for the record? He's seated a little bit to my left, third from the right end of counsel table, and he has a mustache, and he is wearing an orange jumpsuit. Your Honor, could the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Damian Wayne Aztec? It will, yes. Thank you. Prior to showing Mr. Gomez the photographic lineup, did you give him an admonishment? Yes, I did. What was that? It's a form that has an admonishment that tells the individual that they may or may not see the person that was a suspect in the lineup, and they're not to make any prejudiced or prejudged notions. Just look at the photos and see if they recognize anyone. Okay, after giving that admonishment to Mr. Gomez, did you show him the photographic lineup? Yes, I did. Did he identify anyone in the lineup? Yes, he did. Who did he identify? He identified Mr. Aztec. Okay, and did he describe to you what part of Mr. Aztec played in the robbery that occurred at his residence? Well, he stated that he was one of the ones that came in and tied him up. Did you also show Mr. Gomez a photographic lineup of a familiar individual containing a photograph of Jeannie Ramirez? Yes, I did. Prior to showing him that photographic lineup, did you give him the same admonishment? Yes, I did. Did he identify anyone in that photographic lineup? Yes, he did. Who did he identify? He identified Ms. Ramirez. Do you see her in the courtroom today? Yes, I do. Where is she and what is she wearing? She's seated to the far right of counsel table with long brown curly hair, wearing an orange jumpsuit. Did Mr. Gomez tell you that what role Ms. Ramirez played in the robbery? He stated that she came in and was she had made statements that she was there for the money he owed her. Did Mr. Gomez tell you about any other statements that Jeannie Ramirez made during the course of the robbery? Yes, he did. What did he tell you? He told me that she stated that if he were to call the police or anyone else, that they would come back and kill him and his family. All right, let's do some read back. All righty. Let me give you actually, you know what? I won't even give you a word list. I'll just read this top one, the first one at 225, okay? All right. All righty. This is going to be plaintiff. Here we go. First time will be at 225. Where were you going when you left? We were going out to the Wagon Wheel Bar. That is a place that is a mile or 2 miles beyond where the accident took place, is it not? I would say about a mile this side of the Wagon Wheel Bar. It was raining, wasn't it? Yes, it was. How fast do you think the car was traveling just prior to the time the accident occurred? Well, I wouldn't know, sir. I didn't look at the speedometer. Well, have you any opinion how fast it might have been going, even though you didn't see the speedometer? Well, I don't know, sir, how fast we were going. At any time prior to the accident and while you were on this trip, had you asked Kyle to slow down? Yes, sir. I recall that I asked him to slow down. Did you ask him to slow down more than once? I asked him twice, and that was before the curve in the road. Well, did you at any time after you left Bishop and before the accident look at the speedometer? Yes, sir. And what did you observe when you did look at the speedometer? That is when I asked him to slow down. That was right before the curve in the road. It was about 80 miles per hour. And did he slow down after you asked him to slow down? Yes, he did. All right, second time at 200. Here we go. Where were you going when you left? We were going out to the Wagon Wheel Bar. That is a place that is a mile or 2 miles beyond where the accident took place, is it not? I would say about a mile this side of the Wagon Wheel Bar. It was raining, wasn't it? Yes, it was. How fast do you think the car was traveling just prior to the time the accident occurred? Well, I wouldn't know, sir. I didn't look at the speedometer. Well, have you any opinion how fast it might have been going, even though you didn't see the speedometer? Well, I don't know, sir, how fast we were going. At any time prior to the accident and while you were on this trip, had you asked Kyle to slow down? Yes, sir. I recall that I asked him to slow down. Did you ask him to slow down more than once? I asked him twice, and that was before the curve in the road. Well, did you at any time after you left Bishop and before the accident look at the speedometer? Yes, sir. And what did you observe when you did look at the speedometer? That is when I asked him to slow down. That was right before the curve in the road. It was about 80 miles per hour. And did he slow down after you asked him to slow down? Yes, he did. Okay, last time at 180. Where were you going when you left? We were going out to the Wagon Wheel Bar. That is a place that is a mile or 2 miles beyond where the accident took place, is it not? I would say about a mile this side of the Wagon Wheel Bar. It was raining, wasn't it? Yes, it was. How fast do you think the car was traveling just prior to the time the accident occurred? Well, I wouldn't know, sir. I didn't look at the speedometer. Well, have you any opinion how fast it might have been going, even though you didn't see the speedometer? Well, I don't know, sir, how fast we were going. At any time prior to the accident and while you were on this trip, had you asked Kyle to slow down? Yes, sir. I recall that I asked him to slow down. Did you ask him to slow down more than once? I asked him twice, and that was before the curve in the road. Well, did you at any time after you left Bishop and before the accident look at the speedometer? Yes, sir. And what did you observe when you did look at the speedometer? That is when I asked him to slow down. That was right before the curve in the road. It was about 80 miles per hour. And did he slow down after you asked him to slow down? Yes, he did. All right. How was that?
Not bad.
Good. Good. All right. Well, we can each take a Q&A if you want.
Sure. I'm gonna read the first take, so we'll see how it went.
Good job. I read all of them the same, so I love it when that happens. I hate it when I accidentally screw up because it's like, dang it, that take's going to be different. So you just let me know when you find it.
Okay, I've got it.
Got it? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Here, I'll take the first one because it's shorter. You can take
Okay.
the longer one. Okay, here we go. Question: where were you going when you left? Answer: we were going out to the Wagon Wheel Bar.
Question: that is a place that is a mile or 2 miles beyond where the accident took place, is it not? Answer: I would say about a mile this side of the Wagon Wheel Bar.
Awesome. Question: it was raining, wasn't it? Answer: yes, it was.
Question: how fast do you think the car was traveling just prior to the time the accident occurred? Answer: well, I wouldn't know. I didn't look at the speedometer.
Good. Now, do you have sir? I wouldn't know. Well, I wouldn't know, sir.
I have a stroke there, but it's
Okay. No worries.
it's not sir.
No worries.
It's just the I.
It's the I. That's okay. That's just one word, so no worries. Question: well, have you any opinion how fast it might have been going, even though you didn't see the speedometer? Answer: well, I don't know, sir, how fast we were going.
Question: at any time prior, wait.
So far, you had it right.
At any time prior to the accident? No, I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Prior to the accident, while you were on this trip, had you asked Kyle to slow down? Answer: yes, sir. I recall that I asked him to slow down.
Perfect. Question: did you ask him to slow down more than once? Answer: I asked him twice, and that was before the curve in the road.
Question: well, did you at any time after you left Bishop and before the accident look at the speedometer? Answer: yes, sir.
Awesome. Question: And what did you observe when you did look at the speedometer? Answer, that is when I asked him to slow down. That was right before the curve in the road. It was about 80 miles per hour.
Question, and did he slow down after you asked him to slow down? Answer, yes, he did.
Awesome. Awesome job. Yeah, you're ready for that Q&A, that RPR Q&A. You are.
Getting there.
Yes.
I'm trying to push a little higher than 225 just to like give myself some room. So,
you know what I'll do on Friday morning? I will read something after we warm up and we get to 225. Then I'll read something at 240, 250.
Okay.
I'll definitely do that just so you can kind of get some practice with that. Get a little push. I'll read it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So I can read it that fast. I'll have to read it. No, but I will definitely do that.
Cool. Awesome. That'd be helpful.
Yep, I will do that. Absolutely. So
I wrote in the chat box, but you probably didn't see it. What's the brief for common sense? I've never used it.
Oh, let me see here. I know I don't use that either, but there's a brief for it. Common sense. Ooh, that's a good one. It's initial KM, final NS. Sorry, I didn't see that.
That's okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a good one. It makes sense.
KMNS. Okay.
Yeah. So like KMNS. Common sense. Makes sense. It's kind of like a little squeeze.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm trying not to add too many briefs at this point just because they kind of, it's just another thing to think about.
Yeah, especially at this, where you're at in your speeds, I would say the same thing. I mean, sometimes it's like, okay, I don't like writing that word, but as far as going out and just learning new ones, I wouldn't either, because what you're doing now is working,
Yeah. Every once in a while, I'm pretty picky, but every once in a while I'll be like, okay, I would like a brief for that, because it comes up enough. And
yes, exactly.
So that's kind of a good one, I feel like. But
like criminal case is KR long AS. That's another good one.
KR long AS.
Yeah, criminal case is CRACE. That's another good one.
I find that as I'm getting in the higher speeds, I'm writing more out than before.
Yeah, that's true.
Is it true? Okay, yeah. I was kind of wondering about that, because I don't know if that's normal or not, but
no, it is. It's weird, huh? Because you would think that the faster you go, the more you brief, but you really don't. It's like, okay, it's almost like you've figured out how to write fast, so you might as well just write it out.
Yeah.
It's really driven in. It's like, it's better just to write it out than stop and pause and that speaker's 10 words down the road,
Yeah. I've noticed that. I'm like, wow, I'm writing so much out. I mean, and the ones that are have been like drilled in from the beginning, they're in there, but
it's all the new ones. Forget it.
But even sometimes I won't use a brief that I know and I'll just write it out. And it's like, cause you're just not thinking, you're just going,
you're just writing. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Okay. Well, so that's pretty normal, huh? I'm glad I'm normal.
Definitely. That's definitely normal. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a great evening and I will see you on Friday morning, hopefully.
Yes, I'll be there Friday morning.
Okay. All right. If something happens, I just know that I will read it. I'll read something from like 240, 250.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye, Catherine.